Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping straight into something that, honestly, it keeps a lot of people up at night. It's that fear of shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves.
Right. The idea that everything you build, it just vanishes in a couple of generations. And it's not just a vague fear, is it?
Not at all. The stats we looked at are, well, they're pretty shocking. Sources say 70% of wealthy families lose that wealth by the second generation.
And it gets worse. It jumps to 90% by the third generation. 90.
Wow. So you hear that and you automatically think, okay, bad investments maybe, or they didn't handle taxes right.
That's the logical assumption. But our deep dive today is about going beyond those spreadsheets. We want to uncover the real reasons, especially looking at the unique cultural dynamics in Vietnamese and other Asian families right here in the U.S.
Because the experts, the ones dealing with this daily, they have a very different take.
They really do. The consensus is overwhelming. Something like 95% of these wealth transfer failures, they boil down to human issues.
Human issues, like what?
Communication breakdowns, lack of education for the heirs, trust issues, failing to pass on family values around money. Only about 5%, they say, is purely technical, bad legal structures, tax mistakes, that sort of thing.
Okay, so if it's not usually the money management itself, what is this like silent killer? What's actually destroying these family fortunes from within?
Well, first, we need to be clear on what generational wealth even means. It's not just the cash in the bank, right?
Right.
It's defined by two kinds of assets. You've got the tangible stuff, money, real estate, stocks, the business, obvious things.
Yeah.
But the real wealth, the stuff that lasts, is the intangible assets, financial wisdom, family values, social connections. That's the foundation. And the failure, it almost always happens because those intangibles, that wisdom, it just doesn't get passed down.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's dig into why. Why the silence? Why is money such a taboo topic, especially in many Asian and Vietnamese households?
It often stems from the older generation, maybe the boomers or even older. There's this reluctance. Sometimes it's about fear of losing control. If they talk about the money, maybe the kids will get lazy or they'll lose influence.
Control.
Yeah. And sometimes it's genuinely cultural superstition. Like talking about death or inheritance is considered bad luck. It feels like you're inviting it. We even saw data showing about a third, 32%, are hesitant to pass on assets if they think their kids view money differently.
That fear just freezes everything, doesn't it?
It paralyzes them.
Yeah.
And that paralysis means the next generation is basically flying blind financially.
Right. This silence isn't just uncomfortable, it creates a huge knowledge gap. You mentioned the source material showed parents think they're passing on, what, like 70% of the necessary financial know-how?
Yeah, they feel they're doing a pretty good job. But the kids, the heirs, they report feeling like they only received about 10%.
10%. That 60-point gap. That's the real liability. Not the debt on the books, but the debt in knowledge.
Exactly. That 60% deficit, that's what fuels the curse. You see it play out all the time. Sure. Think about some stories you might see online, like maybe on Reddit. Someone inherits property, cash, a decent amount.
Okay.
But they just make terrible choices. Not because they're bad people, but because nobody ever taught them how to manage it. They get the keys to the kingdom, but no instruction manual.
And if we bring this into the U.S. context, for Gen X and Millennials in these families, it gets even more complicated, right? This whole sandwich generation thing?
Oh, definitely. The sandwich generation trap folks mostly in their 30s, 40s, maybe early 50s. It's particularly tough in immigrant communities. They're squeezed from both sides.
How so?
Well, they're often financially supporting or caring for their aging parents who maybe didn't have robust retirement plans because, frankly, they poured everything into setting up their kids for success in America.
Okay, so pressure from the older generation.
Right. And at the same time, they're raising their own kids. College funds, childcare, mortgages, all of it. It's immense pressure.
That sounds incredibly stressful. And I imagine it does more than just strain the monthly budget. It probably tanks their own ability to build wealth, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's the key impact. This dual obligation just drains their resources. How can you max out your 401k or invest consistently when your income is essentially supporting 3 generations?
Yeah, you can't.
Your own future financial security gets put on the back burner. It's almost impossible to get ahead yourself when you feel responsible for everyone else.
It's interesting, though, because you can see how the first generation might think they're helping by not burdening the kids with the details, trying to shield them.
It often comes from a good place, yes, but the stress is still there. We see this even with high earners, people you'd think are doing great. Yeah. The Henry's high earners, not rich yet.
Right.
Even they report feeling intense financial anxiety. There's a term for it, money dysmorphia. Feeling broke or insecure even when you make good money because these competing demands just eat it all up.
Okay, so that's the pressure cooker for Gen X and Millennials. What about the next wave? Gen Z, the 18 to 29 crowd, are they handling this differently?
It's a fascinating contrast. Gen Z reports the highest levels of general money anxiety, something like 70% worry about it often.
Wow, even higher.
Yeah. But, and this is crucial, they seem to be the most open to talking about it. Our sources suggest that almost 30% of Gen Z regularly discuss family finances. There's a real desire there to, break the pattern.
That's hopeful. But then there's the flip side, isn't there? The stereotype, the fear that drives the whole shirt sleeves curse entitlement. Air's just blowing through the money.
For sure. And you see that anxiety reflected culturally. Like those viral online parodies of the Four Die the Rich second generation.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some of those.
They satirize the crazy spending, the nepotism, the kids who get everything without earning it. It's funny, but it taps into a real fear in the community that just handing over cash without values or skills only makes things worse, faster.
Okay, so we've hammered home that the human side, the communication, the trust, that's 95% of the problem. But those failures then lead directly to the technical mistakes, right? The 5%. What's the biggest legal mess people fall into?
It's the almost complete lack of formal planning. It's kind of shocking, really. Sources suggest less than 5% of Asian families in the U.S. set up a formal trust, and only about 37% have any kind of clear succession plan written down.
Less than 5% use a trust. That means most families are just leaving it all up to chance, relying on state law.
Pretty much. And if you die without a will, or, crucially, a trust, your estate gets thrown into probate.
And probate is?
Probate is the court-supervised process for distributing assets. It's public, it's slow, can take months, even years, and it costs a lot in legal fees and court costs. Plus, it's practically guaranteed to cause fights among family members.
So the tool they're missing is a trust, like a revocable living trust.
Exactly. A revocable trust avoids probate altogether. It keeps things private, saves time and money, and can even offer protection against things like divorce claims or creditors later on. It's a fundamental tool.
Okay, legal neglect is huge. What's another big pitfall, maybe on the investment side? You mentioned real estate earlier.
Yeah, the real estate overload, especially common for first-generation immigrants. There's a tendency to put almost all the family wealth into local real estate. Maybe the family home, a rental property or two, the building the family business is in.
And there's a logic to that, right? Tangible assets feel safe.
Totally. We have to acknowledge the psychology. Real estate feels secure, it provides stability. And for many immigrant entrepreneurs, nail salons, restaurants, small shops, that property was the foundation of their success. Can't knock that.
But the downside?
The downside is a serious lack of diversification. All your eggs are in one very local basket. You're vulnerable to local market downturns.
And you miss out on growth elsewhere.
Precisely. You're not participating in the broader stock market, maybe global investments, things that could offer better long-term growth. And just holding property in cash means inflation is silently eating away at the real value over time. It feels conservative, but it can actually be quite risky long-term.
Okay, one more technical trap before we talk solutions. Taxes. Is there a common tax mistake?
Oh, a huge one. Failing to understand and plan for the U.S. tax rule called the step-up in basis.
Step-up in basis. Okay, what's that?
Basically, when someone inherits an asset, like stock or real estate, its cost basis for tax purposes gets stepped up to its fair market value at the date of death. This means if the heirs sell it soon after inheriting, there's little to no capital gains tax.
Ah, okay, so it wipes out the tax on all the appreciation that happened during the original owner's lifetime.
Exactly. But if the family hasn't structured things correctly, maybe everything is jointly owned in a way that prevents a full step up, or they don't get proper appraisals. The heirs can end up paying potentially millions in unnecessary capital gains taxes when they eventually sell that appreciated family home or business. It's a massive, costly oversight.
Wow. Okay, so silence, fear, lack of planning, real estate concentration, tax mistakes. It's a minefield. But the good news is this isn't an unbreakable curse, right? What are the actionable steps people can take?
Absolutely not unbreakable. The first step is a mindset shift. Adopt a values-first approach. The primary goal isn't just to transfer money, it's to transfer the values and the knowledge that built the wealth.
How do you do that practically?
One powerful tool is establishing family governance. Think of it like a family council, or maybe even writing a family constitution. It creates structure, separates business decisions from family emotions, defines roles for heirs, and makes things procedural, less personal.
Okay, structure helps. But we keep coming back to communication being the biggest hurdle. How do you actually start that super awkward conversation about money and, well, death?
Gently and indirectly, maybe. Don't barge in asking, so what am I getting? That's a disaster.
Right. Bad starting point.
Instead, maybe you start with your own planning. You could say something like, hey, Mom, Dad, I just set up my own will and a trust, actually. It got me thinking, maybe we should review our family's plan together.
Ah, framing it as shared responsibility.
Exactly. It's less confrontational. And here's a key tip. Use a neutral third party. Bring in a financial advisor and estate planning attorney to facilitate that first big conversation. They can keep things on track and absorb some of the emotional heat. It makes a huge difference.
Okay, start the talk, use a mediator. What's the third step? It has to be about closing that 60% knowledge gap, right? Educating the next generation.
Yes, we need to teach them to be stewards of capital, not just consumers of it. Give them real responsibility, but start small. Maybe let the younger generation manage a small portion of the family's charitable giving budget.
Yeah.
Or give them a modest investment account to manage, with guidance, of course. Let them make some small mistakes. Learn from them. This builds what some call their adversity quotient, AQ, their resilience, their ability to handle financial ups and downs. It develops real skills.
So it really comes down to this, the generational wealth curse. It's not really about the money you make. It's about how little you talk, how little you prepare, how little you educate. The most valuable inheritance isn't the cash.
It's the wisdom, the intangible stuff. That's the legacy that lasts.
Absolutely.
And look, if anything we've talked about today has struck a chord with you, it feels familiar, we really encourage you, try to start that conversation, maybe this week. And please, share your experiences or strategies in the comments below. We genuinely want to hear how different families are navigating this.
Yeah, we do. And as you wrap up this deep dive with us, mull over this question, maybe discuss it with your family. If your family's entire net worth was locked up in one single tangible asset, say the family business or the house you grew up in, who specifically in your family actually has the knowledge and the ability to manage it, sell it, or change its direction without causing a massive family fallout.
That answer, that tells you exactly where your biggest vulnerability might be hiding.